Well, that's the view from Devin. Let's invite our next guest now. We have Rajiv Thakkar joining us, Chief Investment Officer and Director of Parag Parikh Financial Advice Services Mutual Fund. Rajiv, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for joining us. You're joining us after a decent gap. I wanted your thoughts on what's happening. I mean, it's good for your portfolio because you have Amazon, Alphabet, of course, you have HDFC Bank, but isn't the move now getting too concentrated, not just in India, but across the world in just some of the 50, 60 biggest stocks?
Uh, yeah, the up move has been very, very sharp. And as you pointed out, some of the larger names are participating to a very large extent. But at the same time, also some of the, as you would have seen, some of the online day traders have been pushing up prices of some of the weaker stocks as well. So some of the near bankrupt companies in the US have also participated in the rally. Same has been the case in India as well. So while you're right, initially the move was in the larger names like Amazon and the FANG stocks, as they are called, but it's become quite broad based. So I agree with you that while in March, April, people were going overboard on the lower side and becoming overly pessimistic. Now I think people are becoming overly optimistic in terms of people have already assumed that we are beyond COVID and the vaccine and all will be here soon and things like that. So I think yes, people are probably becoming too optimistic too soon.
Okay, I know it's very tough to find a balance, but let me ask you this then. Even this trend of record, demat openings, or this move in penny stocks, circuit to circuit moves. Are you worried by this, or you think this is par for the course in a market like this, which is recovering from such oversold levels?
So I think one will have to be stock specific. Given the moves in penny stocks or some of the very weak companies, I think a significant amount of money could be lost in those names. At the same time, we have to recognize that pre-COVID and post-COVID, the world is different to the extent that the interest rates have come off very significantly in the developed countries as well as in emerging markets. The fiscal support has been huge from governments everywhere, which has kept a lot of money in the hands of consumers. So one does not see too much of a demand setback on a permanent basis. And one can argue that there will be some pent up demand. So, given the huge cost reduction, or if we can say a permanent reduction in cost of capital, or even if not permanent, at least next 5-10 years, you could see the long term cost of funds for better corporates being lower. Given that scenario, there is some case for slightly higher valuations, but one has to be stock specific. If one buys into weak companies or companies just go bust because of a very weak balance sheet, then obviously a lot of money will be lost by the day traders or speculators.
Hey, Rajiv, hi, good afternoon. I was going through your portfolio again and I didn't find any major changes. Most of your top holdings, your international holdings on the IT side, the technology side, they continue. Then stocks like HDFC Bank, Bajaj Holdings, that also continued. You've not changed your position even on a Mahindra Holidays where people are questioning discretionary demand, travel, etc. So, what are the major changes, if any, that you have taken or are thinking to undertake in this COVID market?
Sure. So, firstly, a lot of new names came into the portfolio in the month of March. So, we added things like Oracle Financial Services, we added names like MCX, we added ITC. So, a lot of new names came in the month of March. The other thing that Surbi probably you should note is that given that we get inflows and given that if we don't buy a particular company, automatically the weightage of that company goes down in the portfolio. So there may not be too many exits or too many fresh entries, but at the portfolio level, you will see the weightage changes. So given that the COVID lockdowns have been longer than what we had expected in the beginning, our weightages in financials are lower right now than what they were earlier. So partly it is because of the stock prices being lower and have not recovered fully, and also it's a fact that we haven't been buying too much of financials recently. Same with things like Mahindra Holidays, where the lockdowns have been longer than anticipated, and again their coming online will be much later than the other businesses. So we haven't been adding much in these kind of companies in the last 2-3 months.
Okay, by the way, big move in Bharti Airtel now. Just pull out the intraday chart. Remember it's been in that range for some time now, and it's finally beginning to look like it wants to break out. Rajiv, no sort of interest in telecom, because that's done remarkably well. I mean, at least I don't know if you've added any Bharti or Reliance in the last 3 months, or even Vodafone Idea if you looked at that. But any thoughts on the telecom pack?
Sure, Anuj. So we don't own any telecom companies in India or globally as well. All the excitement that you currently see around global investments in the Reliance Jio platforms, I think one has to recognize that people are moving beyond the pure telecom play or the pure providing of voice and data to the platforms and to the end use. So even globally, for example, most of the value is captured by companies like Facebook or companies like Google, companies like Amazon, Netflix. It's not AT&T which captures most of the value. And even in India, the investments that have come in Jio platforms have been behind, let's say, the retail and e-commerce play, or by the play on streaming services, or the new payment mechanisms. So Reliance is somewhat further down the journey, but I don't think Bharti and Vodafone are even at the beginning stages over there. And within the Reliance Jio itself, it's early stage. So we are, given that we invest in listed equities and given that we value companies on their cash flows and revenues, we are slightly late stage investors. So Reliance Jio platforms are at an early stage right now. And again, if one buys the listed company, one is buying oil and gas and petrochemicals as well as the newer businesses. So we are not invested in India per se, but I think people will need to distinguish between pure telecom, which is the so many GBs and this much ARPU and this much number of subscribers, to the newer businesses like streaming media, like e-commerce, payments, and so on and so forth.
Okay, well, I guess Reliance as a group has a blend of a lot of that, one could argue. But I got your larger point where the value generation and capturing is really happening, probably not at purely the utility level, telecom utilities. Rajiv, I also am now looking at the auto part of your portfolio, and you've played that very interestingly. I don't know if you still have the same kind of holding in, Suzuki, the international parent. And then you have Bajaj Holdings as well. There's Balkrishna. So what's the thought overall on the auto sector and the ancillary plays? Are you expecting the demand recovery to be sustainable?
Sure, Surbi. So we continue owning Suzuki in Japan. We own Hero MotoCorp, and we own Bajaj Auto via the Bajaj Holdings investment. So these are the large three auto plays. Balkrishna Industries is more of highway tires and things like that. So yes, auto demand has been weak for numerous years in India now. So we started building up our auto positions somewhere around 6 to 12 months back. And the whole thesis was on cyclical rebound in demand. And then COVID happened, obviously, where everything was shut down. But COVID, in a way, has been a blessing in disguise, at least for let's say auto companies in China or elsewhere, where people are now worried about using public transport, and where again the shift towards personal mobility is coming back. So people are moving away from getting into subways and buses, and to some extent even ride sharing and ride hailing like the Ubers and Olas, and people are buying their own vehicle. So this has been reflected in second-hand vehicle demand in a lot of countries, and expectation is that even in India, once the people start moving around, you could see some demand coming back.
Okay, let me get back to the point you made in passing that you added ITC recently, Rajiv. It's tested the patience of so many people over the last 10 years, especially those who have been value investing. Uh, what makes you confident that this time perhaps things could be different?
So it's tested patience of people, and we added this largely in the month of May, where prices had fallen to around 140 rupees a share, and most of the build-up was in May, but we have been adding some quantities even later. Uh, ITC has been seeing the writing on the wall for a long time, where the cigarette business has an end of the road kind of thing, maybe not immediately, but down the road. So they have been diversifying into the newer FMCG categories and some other businesses. Now, the pet peeve of most of the investors has been that they hold back a lot of cash, and some of that goes into low ROC businesses like hotels and all. So within the last 6 to 12 months, ITC has made a conscious decision of improving the capital allocation. So a lot of money will be paid their investment. FMCG is behind them. So that is gradually seeing improvement in margins, and that is gradually seeing an improvement in return on capital. So that is, and plus, as you mentioned, it's been underperforming for 10 years and prices are low. So that's what gave us the confidence of making an entry into the stock.
Okay, Rajiv, and then very quickly to sum everything up, if I have 100 rupees to invest now with the Nifty practically at 11,000 or 10,900, should I invest the entire 100 today? Should I stagger it out? Should I wait for a dip? What do I do?
Making a lump sum purchase does not make sense. So it would have probably made sense a few months back, but given the sharp rebound, I would recommend staggering it out.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much, Rajiv, for that. Pleasure talking to you as always. We look forward to having you on the show again soon. Well, with that, let's just get back to the market. Anuj, things haven't changed too much. Small recovery on the Bank Nifty, I mean, if we can call it that. But what's your overall sense on the way things have played out so far today?
Well, two things. First of all, Reliance has started to move once again on the upside. After that intraday profit taking that we had on the stock Surabhi, it's very quickly moving back towards the high point of the day. And remember, Wednesday is the AGM. Other than that, I think Bharti Airtel is playing some kind of a catch up. So that stock is moving up. But today you can notice that this market's moving a bit defensive as well. I mean, the stocks moving to high point of the day are Tech Mahindra, Sun Pharma, Bharti, as I mentioned, Lever, ITC, and banks. While you could argue that they've recovered, but still, there's a bit of a disappointment after a 500-point decline on Friday and 300-point decline today. Let's see, perhaps if there are enough shorts now in the Bank Nifty to carry that index higher from tomorrow, or will we finally see some kind of a breakdown in the Bank Nifty? I think because you need the Bank Nifty's participation if the Nifty has to move past that 200-day moving average. It's once again clear that today for 15-20 minutes we traded above the 200-day moving average, but then we immediately slipped back, and that's courtesy Bank Nifty. So need Bank Nifty's participation. Otherwise, perhaps this range might trouble the traders for a bit longer than they bargained for.
Okay, well, let's see. That's the market, at least for now. Reliance really batting from the front. We do need to take a very quick break. We'll be back with the trading calls for the last 20-25 minutes of the day.